Hello everyone, welcome to the Buzz the Prey Manga. Today we continue the latest Global Freeze chapter, rewritten and edited by me in English for a smooth reading experience. All visuals and story flow are personally edited to give you the best manga style storytelling. Support the original creator by checking the official manga. So let's dive right into the today's chapter.
Chapter 2601 Armed War Maiden 3. The dim, yellow sky, like a bronze bell worn dull by sand, hung low over the city of yellow sand. 12 armed battle maidens formed a semicircle, their black battle robes fluttering without wind, their eyes gleaming with cold red matrices. Zhang Yi stood in midair, holding his knife. All things in the universe condensed into a thin shell that clung to his body, and the second hand of time gently turned a page in the depths of his pupils. He exhaled and fell silent, as if shutting off all the noise in the world at once. Before any of the armed battle maidens realized what was happening, Zhang Yi's divine refining demon blade had already cleaved the armed battle maiden's head in two. The pale red light flashed briefly in the center of the war maiden's breastplate before disappearing, and her entire body silently split into two pieces, the metallic blood mist turning into dark silver dust in the wind. Her great sword fell to the ground with a clang, half of it embedding itself in the sand and creating ripples. The remaining 12 people showed no joy or sorrow, but simply pulled their formation inward by half a step, shrinking as if their hearts were in sync. Instantaneous attack. No attack trajectory detected. Suspected time-based ability. Countermeasures. None at the moment, but based on the target's energy reaction, it should be impossible to continue using this ability. Tighten the defensive line. The remaining 12 armed battle maidens quickly made the most appropriate response. The three men on the right front raised their arms simultaneously. The spinal fins of the hand cannons stood up, and the muzzle narrowed into a thin line, which was a wave of energy gathering. 3 beams of energy pierced the air silently, while the heat wave created invisible ripples in the air. After taking down one, can your teamwork still be so flawless with the remaining 12? Zhang Yi flashed, becoming a thin tangent line between the door edges. Even without the ability to teleport, he is still incredibly fast as a top-tier space-type ability user. He swept past the bombardment of 3 energy cannons. The perfect prediction of the second hand of time allowed him to pass through a sea of flowers without a single petal touching him. He drew his sword across his chest, and the netherworld burial transformed into a surging black tide, engulfing the overflowing heat. 2 war maidens on the left flank soared into the sky, blocking Zhang Yi's path. Instead of engaging in direct close combat, they first used laser light to draw 2 extremely thin arcs in the air, and the intersection of the arcs fell precisely at the thinnest point on the outer edge of the myriad phenomena. They concentrated their firepower, attempting to break through Zhang Yi's defenses. Zhang Yi swung his sword backhand, and the winding river of the netherworld, upon touching the opponent's laser beam, absorbed it completely in an instant. However, as soon as he stopped, a thick layer of white frost suddenly formed on the ground beneath his feet. The 4th-ranked battle maiden in the front row knelt on one knee, her palm pressed against the sand. Cold white cracks spread outward like a spider web, and frost lines climbed up the broken walls and bridge piers along the terrain, even touching the air moisture line in the air. Frozen domain. Radius 12 kilometers. Her voice was icy as it came out of her lips, while a thin white mist rose in the sky. The temperature at the point where Zhang Yi landed dropped to an extremely low level instantly. This was a way to drastically slow down the movement of molecules in the space, enough to cause Zhang Yi's movements to become sluggish. At the same time, 2 armed battle maidens drew their swords side by side, raised them to their foreheads, and charged straight at Zhang Yi. A crimson ring emerged from the back of the great sword. As the ring receded, the artificial sun in the sky seemed to have been plucked, and a miniature solar prominence appeared on its smooth surface. The sun's corona falls. A white core the size of a fist shot into the sky, but quickly dragged down an enormous fireball from the cloud top, like a blazing sun, which fell directly above Zhang Yi's head. The two armed battle maidens joined forces to unleash an attack that borrowed the power of the artificial sun in the sky, radiating a scorching temperature that could melt the earth and desert, seemingly about to evaporate Zhang Yi instantly. In Zhang Yi's left eye, the second hand of time spun wildly. He could foresee everything in the future and saw the damage after the sun fell. Therefore, he chose the wisest course of action. The demonic blade spun rapidly in his palm, causing the myriad phenomena of the universe to shrink inward by half a circle, and the black tide of the netherworld to surge upward, like a huge black stone tablet. The sun fell upon the black stone monument, its light quickly absorbed and its heat erased by the darkness. Even if the two of you join forces, your attacks are not enough to harm me,
Zhang Yi said coldly.
Even without relying on the myriad phenomena of the universe, he is still a powerful individual with an ability index of 55,000. Moreover, with the added protection of this demon god armor, how could he possibly be injured by the combined attack of the two? However, at this moment, the fifth battle maiden exerted a little force with her legs bent down, and the jet device on her back propelled her into the air, with two light blue light nails sticking out from her toes. Gravity well, bipolar. The blue beam of light landed on the area around Zhang Yi, and after a moment, the gravitational field of the entire space was distorted. The air was sometimes light and sometimes heavy, and weightlessness and gravitational pull alternated around Zhang Yi, as if someone was pulling his back and shaking him violently. The sixth and seventh Valkyries on the flanks pulled the triggers of their hand cannons, causing black rings to ripple outwards like waves, and spatial shockwaves to spread out once again. The dozen or so doors were pulled apart, and the seemingly endless defenses were continuously subjected to the opponent's focused attacks. They also realized that unless they broke through the 3,000-dimensional gates surrounding Zhang Yi's body, they would not be able to harm his true form. Zhang Yi's face was cold and stern as he swiftly wielded the demonic blade in his hand, using the power of the netherworld to fight against everything that was invading him. He slashed back, the blade wind sweeping across the faces of the two armed battle maidens in front of him like ink lines. Although the two reacted quickly enough, a shallow scorch mark was still left on their armor. Their bodies were firmly protected by an energy shield composed of transparent hexahedrons. Something strange. How can their defenses be so strong? The moment he activated the Azure Sky Strike, his attack easily tore apart an armed battle maiden. However, even with his full force strike, he couldn't break through the opponent's energy shield. Just then, Zhang Yi sensed a peculiar energy fluctuation. Such a sound came from the mouth of the armed battle maiden, requesting energy replenishment. A streak of light flashed in the sky, and then 12 crimson beams of light rapidly fell from above. They then enveloped the armed battle maidens. Zhang Yi finally understood what was going on. Are they the terminals of the system? Is my real enemy actually the control system of this lost world? A troublesome idea surfaced in his mind. If that's the case, doesn't that mean these armed battle maidens are also difficult to kill? The armed battle maidens gave him no time to think, and the attacks came down again in a dense barrage. He attempted to use the netherworld burial to suppress the attack, and the black tide rolled down, like the night sea receding. The 12 individuals each displayed their unique strengths. Some used honeycomb-shaped energy shields to absorb his attacks, some used spatial oscillations to weaken his defenses, some launched frontal attacks with laser cannons, and some disrupted his movements with gravity wells. The 12 players still cooperated seamlessly, and there was no rift due to the absence of one person. Chapter 2602 Armed War Maiden 4. The sound of energies colliding was like 10,000 bowstrings being drawn taut at once, and the ruined towers behind the city walls shook out rust powder in the aftershocks. The outcome remained undecided for a short period, with both sides calculating the outcome by the smallest margin. Zhang Yi was not in a hurry. He regarded this battle as a trial to test his mastery of his abilities. It had been a long time since he had been in such a difficult combat situation. He focused his attention on every crevice like a needle and thread, and the second hand of time captured the next 5 seconds in segments, from which he selected the wisest choice. With each step, He perfectly evaded the powerful attacks of the armed battle maidens. With each swing of his sword, he precisely struck the most uncomfortable spots on them. He was like someone wrestling with a perfect clock, and he just happened to have a screwdriver in his hand to change the time. The warrior on the right rear suddenly broke away from the formation, clasped her hands together, and a dazzling bouquet of light bloomed from the red core on her chest. Solar prominence resonance. Energy level 2. The bright surface of the artificial sun rippled gently, like the tides rising in a shallow sea, while a larger white thermal core was being nurtured in the clouds, trailing a huge fiery tail as it crashed down. Zhang Yi folded the netherworld black tide into an umbrella, held it above his head, and directly clashed with the opponent in the purest and most violent way. The Kuroshio current obscured the sun, swallowing up all its heat. The frozen field rose again, and the entire desert was covered with a thick layer of white frost. Two battle maidens emerged from the frost and mist, their armor adorned with crystalline threads, their swords gleaming with icy blue. The enormous war sword swiftly unleashed a series of slashes, each a streak of sword light crisscrossing the sky, diagonally striking towards Zhang Yi's sides. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, his heart pounding, and his feet moved quickly. Finally, unable to tolerate the opponent constantly weakening his all-encompassing defense, he took the initiative to evade. He is extremely fast and has the ability to foresee the future. Even if the opponent's attacks are as dense as a storm, it is difficult to catch his figure. There's no point in continuing like this. We need to deliver a fatal blow. He silently counted in his mind as the momentary coolness of the sky slowly receded. Only with such a move can you kill the opponent before they have time to deploy their hexagonal energy shield. The second hand slowed down its page, turning by half a beat, as if waiting for a prearranged hour. Before that, he unfolded the divine refinement technique, and countless slender black vines grew wildly in all directions. Try disconnecting these terminals from the main system, just like before. Drag them all into my alternate dimension. The black vines, like twisted black serpents, shot rapidly toward the 12 armed battle maidens. However, the 12 people remained completely calm. One of them, an armed battle maiden with ice attribute energy, spread her arms and cast a space-freezing spell on the entire space in front of her. The large area of space was sealed off by the cold aura, which also slowed down the spread of the divine refining vine.
Boom.
Boom. The armed war maiden's propulsion system allowed them to quickly evade the vine's encirclement. Their great swords slashed out fiercely, colliding with the vines and sending sparks flying. Although Zhang Yi did not succeed in binding them, he did manage to force them to retreat temporarily. The time has come, he said coldly, and in the eyes of the 12 armed warrior maidens, all they saw was the man shrouded in black armor suddenly accelerating, moving like lightning, his figure enveloped by the light of the blade, becoming an extremely thin silver needle. They saw a person vanish into nothingness, suddenly disappearing from the world. The sky opened again in an instant. Before the red, on the 9th Valkyrie's chest core could even flash once, her figure quietly split in the middle, the crack smooth, her reflection appearing as a black slit in her companion's eyes. Metal fragments scattered as the perfectly formed body, almost indistinguishable from a real person, silently fell to the ground. Corrective array, gap filling. The 11 people immediately filled the gap, their red aura slightly subsided, and their firepower became even more stable. They weren't angry, the algorithm was just updating. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. If this continues, I can wear them all down in 2 hours at most. No, half an hour. As long as I take down 2 more armed battle maidens, the encirclement of the remaining 9 will no longer pose a threat to me. Zhang Yi was making these plans in his mind. However, at this very moment, the artificial sun in the sky began to shimmer gently, and the sky seemed to ripple with energy. A beam of red light, thicker than before, fell straight down and crashed into the sea of sand. Zhang Yi looked over suddenly, and the direction where the red light fell was exactly where the first armed battle maiden he had killed was located. Sure enough, The remains of the first slain war maiden quickly reformed in the crimson light. The fragments seemed to be drawn back to their original positions by an invisible magnetic field. The broken surfaces were welded together, and the red core was relit. She opened her eyes in the pillar of light, stood up, returned to the formation, and skillfully caught the great sword handed back to her by her companion. Zhang Yi's eyes widened. People can truly be speechless when they're speechless. This confirmed the very suspicion he least wanted to accept. As long as he doesn't sever the connection between these armed battle maidens and the main system of this world, he will never be able to truly eliminate them. The Sand Raiders' last line of defense was a perfect defensive arrangement. Zhang Yi looked up and let out a long sigh. Home field advantage. We can't just go head-to-head with them. However, he had long anticipated that a highly advanced civilization like the Sand Raiders would not allow him to obtain the key to the Sky Tower so easily. The armed battle maidens coldly surrounded Zhang Yi, their hand cannons already emitting dazzling light. If this continues, it won't be them who get worn down, but Zhang Yi who will be the one to die. Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed, and the moment they made their move, he increased the power output of his energy. He gripped the divine refining staff in his hand with a backhand and then slammed it into the ground. Energy tide. The core furnace of the demon god armor was burning fiercely, and a crimson energy wave surged outwards in all directions like a tsunami. The clash of energies overturned the entire Sand City, exposing the earth. The shockwave alone nearly destroyed the Sand City. He glanced at the 13 people, his eyes showing no anger, only sincere appreciation for their craftsmanship. He secretly vowed to get his hands on those 13 armed battle maidens. That's all for today. He stopped fighting and turned to fly back the way he came. Prepare to retreat. He had already notified Uncle Yu and the others in advance. At this time, Uncle Yu, Liang Yu, Fatty Su, and the others were still fighting against the guard robots of the Sand Slayers. Those guys, too, couldn't be completely killed, so everyone was just stalling for time. Upon receiving Zhang Yi's order, the group immediately ceased their attack. Chapter 26, 3A Headache 1. Zhang Yi's shadow spread like water. Muyan opened the door, and Uncle Yu, Liang Yu, Fatty Su, Liang Yang, and others were taken away one after another. Zhang Yi simply said, "Return home." The dimensional gate opened, and Zhang Yi instantly vanished. The 13 battle maidens maintained their formation and did not pursue. Their red eyes narrowed slightly, and the red cores on their breastplates dimmed in unison, as if they had switched off some kind of combat mode. Pursuit order request rejected. Hold your positions and defend your positions. The wind once again swallowed the sounds of the streets and alleys, and the city of yellow sand returned to its deathly order. The artificial sun in the sky hangs at the horizon, cold and silent, like a merciless eye watching over everything in this world. On the leeward side of the distant metallic mountain ridge, space folded slightly, the rift in the dimensional portal closed, and the aura of Zhang Yi and his group completely dissipated. All that remained in the air was the faint chill of the receding tide from the netherworld, and the winding scorch mark left on the sand by the sun's corona, like a sign left for the next battle. When they left the city of yellow sand, the sky was as dark as a worn-out bronze surface. Zhang Yi continuously used his spatial teleportation ability to leave the area of the yellow sand city far behind. He stopped when a patch of green suddenly appeared ahead. This is a ruined city overrun by green plants, devoid of mechanical life forms. Zhang Yi stopped only after confirming that the sand-sweeping robots and armed battle maidens were not chasing after him. He surveyed his surroundings. The buildings were embraced by vines through the window openings, moss grew on the steel beams, and silver-leaved trees grew in the collapsed commercial buildings, their veins making a soft, metallic sound when the wind blew. The scent of rain wafted from the shadows of some floor, mingling with the scent of fresh earth and pollen, giving this ghostly city a sense of just awakening. Zhang Yi made everyone emerge from the shadows, while he himself sat on a large, moss-covered rock and took a few deep breaths. Fatty Su shuffled over, scratched his head, and tentatively asked, "Boss, what about that scene just now? How should I put it? They were locked in fierce combat when Zhang Yi suddenly took them away, which surprised him greatly. In the past, Zhang Yi was invincible, and it was rare for him to escape like this. Zhang Yi tilted his head to look at the sky and replied lazily, "Nothing serious, just blocked by a bunch of lifelike dolls." Fatty Sue's eyes lit up immediately, and he took a step closer in a flash. "Realistic dolls? I'm quite knowledgeable about that. We can have a deeper discussion. Perhaps I can be of some help." Li Yongyang peeked out from under the vines, lightly touching her cheek with her finger, her eyes curving upwards. "With me here, do you still need lifelike dolls?" She sighed, her voice as soft as cotton. "Am I not able to satisfy you?" Everyone suppressed a laugh, scrutinizing the two with amused eyes. Zhang Yi rubbed his temples and turned his gaze to Freeman's face on the screen. "You never said they were this difficult to deal with." His tone wasn't harsh, but there was a hint of genuine surprise in it. "Back then, did you ever get close to this line of defense?" Freeman pressed down on the exaggerated brim of his hat, and the display screen flashed with static before returning to clarity. "I don't have that kind of ability." He spread his hands, a self-deprecating tone in his voice. "In their hierarchy, I'm just the lowest-ranking service robot, not even a guard. At most, they can just wander around the perimeter. How could they possibly get close to those high-level armed battle maidens? You know, even robots are divided into different classes." He raised his hand and pointed to the pale artificial sun in the distance, his eyes suddenly warming for a moment. "The Sand Riders are very powerful. I have personally witnessed them plundering a ring of energy from a star, like scooping water from the sea, and then using it to propel a fleet across the planetary belt. They went too far, beyond the boundaries of our understanding, and all they saw was the coldness and desolation of the universe. That's why they chose to return to Mars, create an inner world, and seal away the entire civilization." Yang Xinxin squatted next to a collapsed billboard, the small spectrometer in her hand still emitting a soft green light. She looked up, her gaze calm. "I think I understand why they perished. Their artificial intelligence is severely unbalanced. All mechanical life forms are equipped with combat modules as standard, indicating that weaponry and combat algorithms are the key research areas of this civilization." She paused for a moment, then added softly, "If the development of this military force is not for fighting external enemies, then the most likely reason is for civil war." Zhang Yi hummed in agreement. "That makes a lot of sense. Internal disagreements and infighting are more troublesome than external crises." He gazed at the undulating vines of the park in the center of the street, tapping his fingertips on the heavy demon armor on his thigh. "But I'm not in the mood to explore how this civilization fell right now. The problems at hand haven't been solved yet. Those armed battle maidens, 13 units working in unison, it was a perfect battle formation. That spatial tremor ability reduced my abilities by at least half. Moreover, they have a core central energy source that allows them to resurrect indefinitely." He shrugged, a slightly troubled smile on his face. "It seems that conventional methods of breaking the formation won't work." Lu Karen also frowned, crossed her arms, and said to Zhang Yi, "The source of all power comes from the Tiantong Tower. If we cannot destroy the Tiantong Tower, we cannot stop the endless resurrection of those mechanical life forms. But if we can't defeat those guardians and get the key, we won't be able to enter the space area where the Heavenly Tower is located. This is simply an unsolvable vicious cycle." Lu Karen scratched her hair, looking very conflicted. Zhang Yi sighed. "Yes, after all, it's a defensive measure left behind by an advanced civilization. How could it be so easily broken? This is really a real headache." Zhang Yi unfastened his helmet and rubbed his temples vigorously. He doesn't have a better way to deal with this problem right now. If all else fails, try to break through with brute force. If we mobilize 3 super battleships and the Sky Sea Fortress at the same time, we can indeed destroy those 13 armed battle maidens quickly. But doing that could have terrible consequences. Because we have no idea whether there are other Sand Raider civilizations in this area that might have other tricks up their sleeves. Making too much noise is not a good thing for us." A pale white light appeared behind her, and Ling appeared silently. Her eyes were clear, as if she were looking at someone from behind the fog. I think this level is very suitable for you. She looked at Zhang Yi and said calmly, You've had it too easy these past few years, so easy that you've come to believe that your abilities have reached their limit. What happened today is to tell you that your understanding of power is still very far from complete. Chapter 2604, A Headache 2. My understanding of power is still far from complete. Zhang Yi murmured. Ling looked at Zhang Yi and asked, Do you still think your superpowers are very profound? Zhang Yi didn't rush to refute. He lowered his head and wrote the character door on the moss with his fingertip and then wrote the character heart next to it. The door, in his view, is a dimensional gate of absolute defense. The heart represents the source of strength, which is also a person's thoughts. My spatial abilities completely failed when I encountered Bai Longzi. In the duel with King Arthur, he used the conch shell horn, which prevented me from traversing space smoothly. In the past, I never understood the principle behind my abilities and thought that their abilities were only a minority and did not need to be taken too seriously. But now it seems that the advanced civilizations have thoroughly researched all superpowers. Am I still in a primitive state? I'm complacent because I learned how to make fire by rubbing sticks together, but other people have already invented the flamethrower. He looked up, his attitude now incredibly serious. I still haven't figured out the true meaning of my own power. So, is that why I'm still so easily restrained? Ling looked at the words he wrote and nodded almost imperceptibly. All power ultimately returns to the etheric will. She spoke slowly. Your door, the knife in your hand, the dark currents you stirred up in the netherworld, they are all just appearances. She stared at Zhang Yi and said, word by word, In the end, whether it's your myriad phenomena or the dimensional gate, it has never truly changed since you were born with this ability. How can there be qualitative change if we cannot get rid of the form? One door becomes 3,000 doors, which is just a matter of quantity. Zhang Yi placed her hands on her knees and gradually slowed her breathing. Ling's words were like a wake-up call for him. He admitted that Ling was right. In the past, he was ignorant and could only figure out how to improve the strength of his superpower. Since his past opponents were not strong, he only needed to make a slight improvement to gain a significant lead over others. It wasn't until he encountered a truly powerful and advanced civilization that he discovered the gap between them. So what I need is to transform the doors. This is far more effective than simply stacking them up. Zhang Yi seemed to realize something. But what should I do? He stared at Ling. Ling, can you give me some guidance? Ling shook her head helplessly. I can help you with other things, but I really can't help you with this. She is now just an empty shell, not Ling's true self. As for superpowers, specifically the power of ether, she is utterly powerless. That kind of thing is difficult to describe in words. It must be enhanced through one's own perception of the etheric world. Zhang Yi suddenly realized, I understand what you mean. I need to go to the Sea of Ether. He stood up, looked in the direction of the artificial sun, and suddenly smiled. I'll rest here for a while. I need to go into seclusion and try to break through my abilities. As for how long it will take, it is not clear yet. He felt that this was a crucial turning point in his abilities. If successful, he will resolve a major hidden flaw in himself, and from now on, he will be free from others restricting his abilities by limiting his space. So he made up his mind that he had to overcome the challenge of the armed battle maidens on his own. Fatty Sue exclaimed, Hey, and was about to crack a joke when Li Yongyong gently tugged at his sleeve. Let him go. Li Yongyong lowered her eyelashes and said gently, Every time the boss does this, he undergoes a transformation. Fatty Sue scratched his head, then said honestly, Boss, we're waiting for you to come back. Leave the things outside to us. Freeman said, Don't worry, these guys generally won't attack anyone first. And this area is usually deathly quiet. No one will come to bother you. Zhang Yi gave Freeman a deep look and said speechlessly, After I get back, you'd better provide me with more information. Otherwise, you've been here for over 20 years. Have you only known how to play music all day? Freeman looked a little embarrassed. Zhang Yi glanced around. Luckily, there were no black people in their team, otherwise Freeman would have easily gotten beaten up. Zhang Yi found an open area, and then he took out the Sky Sea Fortress. I'm on Mars, but I've still managed to get back home. It's pretty cool to have my home with me wherever I go. At the very least, it should be an environment you are familiar with. He has a recreation room, which is over 100 square meters in size. It doesn't need to be too big. A little crampedness actually creates a warm and cozy feeling. A thick, soft carpet was spread on the floor. He removed his heavy armor, leaving him in only a black, close-fitting combat suit, and stepped barefoot on the carpet. Then, leaning against the big bed, he slowly sat down. Calm your mind, quiet your breath, and concentrate your spirit. The myriad phenomena of the universe slowly closed in, like the hinges of a giant door closing one by one, shutting out the noise of the world layer by layer. If the heart is pure as ice, one will not be alarmed even if the sky falls. One remains calm amidst all changes, and one's spirit is serene and tranquil. Zhang Yi continued to silently recite Wang Shouren's The Philosophy of Mind in his mind, trying to forget himself and enter a meditative state. His consciousness slowly sank downwards, first into his own shadow, and then into the ancient and tranquil ocean beneath it. The ocean beneath the shadows is pure white and flawless. The crests of the waves are thoughts, and the troughs are also thoughts. He saw countless white orbs of light floating in dense clusters, like the vast universe. This was the prototype of the universe. Just as humans cannot imagine things they have never seen, the Creator created the universe in the shape of the etheric sea. Here, however, each star is a spirit, a person's longing. The etheric ocean spread out around him, like a wordless book written with his heartbeats. The original texts of all the powers can be read here. Gravity is a silent, long sentence. Electricity is a sharp, short sentence. Space is a proverb that is repeatedly folded, and time replaces all punctuation marks with breath. But everything is merely a transformation of thought through mental power. Zhang Yi was also a spirit, much stronger than before, wandering in the Milky Way while silently reciting the name Ling. We are all one. If he misses someone, the other person will definitely feel it. Ling's true form did not manifest. Her voice emanated from the surrounding tides, as if the sea itself were speaking. Zhang Yi, you're here again. You shouldn't keep coming here. The longer you stay here, the more likely you are to lose yourself. Indeed, the ocean of ether is so warm. Here there is no illness or hunger, no heat or cold, only inner peace. It's as if you've returned to the state of being a fetus, enveloped in the mother's warm amniotic fluid.
Alright, that's it for today's chapter. Tell me in the comments which part you enjoyed the most. If you love manga style stories, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to Buzz Play Manga. See you in the next chapter with more surprises. Thank you.